Doo-doo-doo. Here we go. All right. Good morning. I'm going to slide on out of the area so you can see the graphics for today. And while you look at the graphics, I'm going to just talk you through what's going to happen today. We are talking about lateral thinking. I am getting ready to count you down from descending to ascending order. 3, 2, 1. You will inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale. And then we will get this amazing morning mental workout party started today. 3, 2, 1. I'm coming back in frame. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Again, today's topic is lateral thinking. As always, grab your agua vasa liquid gold water because your brain is 75% water and it wants to be hydrated. And as you continue to learn throughout this live today, you will find yourself getting a little bit thirsty. And that's your notification that you are 2% dehydrated and your objective is never to say, I'm thirsty. All right. That being said, it is day number 666, which is a lucky number. We're going to have a good live today. Here is the first quote today is disrupt the straight path. I was reading and I came across this concept of lateral thinking, and I thought this would be a great topic for a live. And it is from Edward de Bono, and it was developed in 1967 in his book, The Use of Lateral Thinking. It is a method of problem solving that emphasizes creativity, innovation, and looking at challenges from unexpected angles rather than relying on logical step by step. And De Bono calls this vertical thinking. Yes, he did. And I looked him up and he recently passed in 2021. Okay. Good morning. And so before you all start typing other things, I have a time when I answer questions. And this is not that time. I go section by section and then I answer questions related to the topic at hand. And today that topic is lateral thinking. Now, here are the core ideas for lateral thinking. Traditional thinking is vertical and logical, and it moves in a straight line, analyzing, judging, and refining known options. And that is the thinking that most people have. But as we know over here at the Land of Real Leaders, we are not most people. So lateral thinking deliberately disrupts the straight path, and it seeks alternative perspectives, unexpected connections, and fresh ideas by challenging assumptions. I am a walking example of lateral thinking on the daily basis. Number 2, here is the techniques. De Bono proposed specific tools for lateral thinking, such as provocation, making deliberately illogical or provocative statements to spark new ideas. I do that every day. On purpose. Yes, because I am saying that every adult, almost 6 billion adults in the world, has the ability to be a bad mofo. Yes, indeedy. Why? Because all you need is new neurons. You just walk on into the hippocampus bank of neurons and you make a daily withdrawal when you challenge yourself. Good morning, Lola. And you get to create new synaptic connections. We all have 86 billion neurons, and some sites and neuroscientists say up to 100 million. So you have the ability to create 860 trillion synaptic connections or more. That means, yes, you have the ability to be a bad mofo. It doesn't matter what your third grade teacher said. It don't matter what your mom and your daddy said and your insignificant other, because you are amazing. You have the ability to become a bad mofo. So yes, that is not vertical thinking. Nobody care about no damn test scores over here. Hell, I got a 17 on the ACT, and they still call me Dr. Donna. So we know that that's some bull. Okay. Then it's another concept or technique is random entry, using random words, images, or objects to stimulate fresh associations. Let me slide on out the way so y'all can see all of these images and objectives, and I'm stimulating fresh associations, because when we get to the real leader brain bit, it's about the brain and a pencil sharpener. Next is the concept of extraction, identifying underlying principles and reapplying them in new contexts. Okay, it's crooked. All right, let me go ahead and do this then. Let's make it real crooked. Okay, so my wig is crooked. Let's go ahead and make it real crooked. Okay, concepts of extractions. Let me do this. Identifying underlying principles and reapplying them in new contexts. And then finally, challenging. We're going to have questions, accepted norms, or assumptions. Why do we do it this way? Why do we do it this way? We're going to question accepted norms. So it look like I got an asymmetric from back in the 90s now, since my wig is crooked. Since my wig is crooked this morning, someone woke up and decided that would be a good statement while I'm talking about the brain. So let's do lateral thinking. What y'all think right now, since this person, Haywood, if he's still here? Yes. Okay. You came here for some bullshit and some nonsense this morning, and I'm here for it too until I get ready to block you. Yes. Okay, so the techniques again are the provocation, the random entry, the concept extraction, and challenge. Yes. All right, let me fix my wig so we can get back to what we came here to do. Now, see, this is lateral thinking. Who would actually do that? Who would literally do something like that? It's going to have to be good enough for today. All right, applications. So the applications of lateral thinking is this: problem solving, finding novel solutions when logic alone can't break through. Finding logical solutions when logic alone can't break through. Finding novel solutions when logic alone can't break through. Next is creativity in business and innovation. And so that's generating product ideas, marketing strategies, and new processes. I did that when I was in the military. I did it Frito-Lay. I'm currently doing it now. I'm closing the gap between neuroscience and psychiatrists so that we, the adults that don't have a diseased brain or are not suffering from mental illnesses that are debilitating, we can access our brain on a daily basis and become our best. That's lateral thinking. That is what I am doing. And then the application, the third part, is leadership and education. Training the mind to think flexibly, adapt to change, and see multiple perspectives. And we know that be flexible is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, and embrace change is another of the 74 principles of real leadership. So some of these concepts we were already doing, and I had no idea who the Bono was. Number 4, the difference from vertical thinking to lateral thinking. Vertical thinking is selective, analytical, and excludes wrong paths quickly. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Not going to work at all. And then lateral thinking is generative. It's playful, a la all of my graphics, and it explores wrong or unusual paths to spark breakthroughs. And the book that I was reading last week, and where is it at? Fun at Work. And what they said was Richard Branson, it really is in all different types of businesses and doesn't really have backgrounds in any of them. He's just an entrepreneur, started in the music industry, and now he got a hotel in Las Vegas, Virgin Air, all kind of things. And so what's taking place is the neuroscientists are neuroscientisting, the psychiatrists are psychiatristing, the psychologists are psychologisting, and no one is saying, how do we build a better human being? We got better cars. We can talk to robots to tell us to turn our lights on, turn our lights off. We got smart homes and everything, and people is still the same. And so normally the vertical people would say, oh, we need to go to the behavioralist, and they need to tell us how to create better human beings. But the behavioralists and the scientists are focused on disease brains and bad things and all of that. And so you don't have a positive person looking to create a positive result. So it's not going to happen. Now, me, yours truly, with no background in neuroscience, but background in leadership and human behavior and all other sorts of things, I am the most likely candidate to do it because I don't have any biases. I don't have any narrow fixed thinking and say this is how you have to do an experiment and it takes this many years to get it and you got to start on the doggone mouse and move to a lab rat, then move to a warthog and all these other things. I'm saying if we want to make people better, start with people. Let's start with the thing that we want to make better. Let's use the internet to make people better where they are. They don't have to come into the lab with a pen and a pad. You're here. We don't have to do all these other things. We're all here. Most of the people in the world have devices or internet connection. So why would we wait and start on a lab rat when that's not going to tell us anything? Y'all got enough of those experiments. At what point are you going to say, let's just have people do this thing and let's make the adjustments based upon what the people are doing? A la me. So this is very much lateral thinking and not vertical thinking, and that's why it's actually going to change human behavior. Number 4 is that's basically the difference. And so if I scoot out the way, you can look at the vertical thinking and the lateral thinking right there, and screenshot if you need to, so that you can see that the difference, what those differences are. And it's generative versus selective. So the vertical thinking is very rigid, very rudimentary, it's very elementary is what's taking place. Now, what is the impact? Era de Bono's lateral thinking framework became widely influential in business, education, and creative fields. Regina, you may be familiar with him. Many companies and schools still use his exercises to improve problem solving, innovation, and teamwork. It was not my experience when I was in corporate America. We did not talk about him. Everything was about Stephen Covey, but it might have actually transpired. I have no idea. Again, I read about it in a book that was written in when was this book? No, this book was 2022. Let me check. Yep, 2022. I'm getting this week's book mixed up with last week's book. Okay, so what questions do you have or comments about lateral thinking versus vertical thinking? And you would think vertical, that would be a much more advantageous way of thinking, but it isn't, especially not when you're attempting to dismake, risk take, and disrupt some current existing stimuli or system. And Regina is listening this morning. Now saw what you said. You missed me twisting my wig then. So lateral thinking is unlikely path. Yes, it is. It is the road less traveled because it's going to go in a zigzag. And I'm about to tell you what brain regions and how it applies to real leadership. So it is not this very standardized way of thinking, which is the vertical thinking, which is what most people do, especially most adults. Now, if you go to elementary school, you got a bunch of lateral thinking going on. A little bit in middle school, very little in high school, and none in college. By then, people are no longer, even when people think they're creating, they're saying, well, I want to get published. I want my art to be in the Louvre and all of this. And so as soon as you start categorizing it and saying, this is the thing that I want, I'm saying I'm going to get a Nobel Prize for a category that currently doesn't exist. That's a lateral thinking, not vertical thinking. Vertical thinking says, well, I got to do it exactly this way. And so I even have this book on my desk for the Nobel Prize winners from like the 40s all the way up into the early 2000s, because I am going to study them. However, I will not be doing what they were doing, and it's in medicina. Okay. Next, good morning, Michael John. Please do not interrupt me while I am speaking. There will be time in between breaks to ask questions, okay? So that's how this goes over here. Brain regions involved in lateral thinking. Number 1 is the prefrontal cortex. And inside of that, we have the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And so it supports your working memory, holding multiple possibilities in mind and shifting perspectives. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex evaluates novel ideas, weighs emotional relevance, and allows for flexible judgment. And then the orbital frontal cortex helps break rules, test unusual ideas, and assess value in unexpected directions. And that's the one that I would like to focus on now. I am a rule breaker. I'm not going to break no laws, but I'm going to break a bunch of rules, because rules are constraints and they are not there to keep the guardrails up. That's what the laws are for. The rules are there to confine people and keep them stuck in a box. And I say, why play in a sandbox when the world can be your playground? So I'm not a box person. I've said boxes are for storage and moving and putting dead bodies into the ground. That's it. Other than that, nothing should be in a box, especially not human beings. And so testing unusual ideas. I've started using the brain as a metaphor. We've done 2. Today we'll be doing another one, but I'm all about what if. I have a whole playlist on YouTube about what if, and I'm constantly asking that question, what if? And I am saying, what if we just started teaching adults how to use their brains and see what happens? Let's just do that. Let's just actually create the owner's manual and teach adults how to use their brain. This is how the brain functions, and this is how you can use it. And then allow the adults with that cognition to go off and do extraordinary things. What would happen if we did that? Instead of just focusing on the diseased brain or the mentally ill brain or the mental abilities or disabilities, however you want to qualify it. My daughter has mental health issues. Let's just focus on how to create extraordinary minds in everybody. Not the select few, not the people with high IQs, but everybody with the brain who has 86 billion neurons. Let's just give them the playbook. If this were a code, I'm giving my open code out to the rest of the world. Let's do that. And in a year, let's see what happens. Let's all just hold ourselves personally accountable for 365 consecutive days, learn how to use the brain, and let's see if the world doesn't change. So that's definitely a lateral thinking. Vertical people are like, no, you can't do that because women over the age of 50 can't think straight because of perimenopause. After the age of 35, working memory starts to atrophy. And so, no, you're not going to get a 65-year-old, a 73-year-old, which we have both of them on the live today. You can't get boomers to do shit because they're so mean and evil. None of that is true. You can't get millennials to do it. Jessica is a millennial. I don't know if she's here this morning. Those Z's just don't listen. Nola is a Z. We actually have somebody in every category almost every day. We don't have any silent generations. I did have somebody on the other lives in silent generation when I was on TikTok. So it works in every age bracket. It's not true. It's not true because everybody is wiring and firing. Hebb's law says when neurons fire and they wire and they connect, you got a new synaptic connection and you have a new neural pathway. That's how the brain works. The brain didn't get the memo because you old. The brain didn't get the memo because you are overweight. The brain didn't get the memo for that. The brain will brain when you train the brain. That's how it will happen. That's what takes place, and that's what I have learned. So if I had to just not come out as a nerd last year and didn't start venturing into this with a simple brain bit, then now we don't know that we all have the capabilities and the neurological capabilities to be bad mofos. So next is the anterior cingulate cortex, and it detects conflict between conventional and unconventional thinking. I'm an unconventionalist. This is on my desk for my neuroscience class. And so this is from Target, a little old school, right? So you're supposed to sit it on the desk like this. Just sit it on the desk. You take your pencil, your bigger pencil, crayon, do like that, okay? But that doesn't work for me. So my daughter was in my office one day and I was talking about, I had the pencil sharpener up, I can't recall why. And so she said, and I think I was holding it this way, and she said, that's supposed to go upside down like that. And I said, well, I keep it on my desk like this because this is how I sharpen my pencils. So if you come to my office and see on my desk, my pencil sharpener is going to be flat like this because I pick it up, sharpen the pencil, lay it back flat. That's what I do while I'm taking notes. So that's not how this is supposed to be used, but this is how I'm choosing to use it because that's what works best for me. Again, very much unconventional. The person that was on here earlier told me that my wig was crooked as if it was going to offend me or something. I've been losing my hair since 2004. I've not had hair longer than I've had hair. And in a minute, I'm going to have a brain tattoo on my head. So I'm not fucking attached to these wigs. Y'all know these are wigs. I've been speaking and said these are wigs. So that doesn't bother me anymore, which is why I switched the wig to let the person know whatever your intention was about saying that doesn't impact me. Because I am an unconventionalist. Yes, I do have on my brain shirts with these bright backgrounds instead of this very neurological. I'm supposed to speak like this and say, this is a brain, and look at the brain, it's awesome, and stuff, and this is it. And I just read Nola a post that showed up in my Instagram feed right there. And I'm not scrolling, I'm not doing any screen time, but it was right there. And I was using that as an example to say, this is why people can't understand the fucking brain. Because this posts don't even make no sense. They were talking about the vagus nerve, and it was so highbrow, so up in the sky. I'm like, did you want people to learn how to use this and understand that the gut brain sends 400 messages to the head brain and it's one-way communications, or did you want people to show how smart you are? Because the people in those industries publish in pairs and stay within those cocoons, and they don't want the outsiders to know. But Stephen Hawking wrote one more book before he left, and he said, we're never going to figure this out until we allow the layperson to come in and understand if the universe exists or not, and all these other very highbrow scientific things. Stop trying to be a physicist and make it seem like you smarter than everybody else. Because at the end of the day, physicists are humans, and there's only so many things that they can do without interacting with human beings. So again, conventional versus unconventional. I say fuck conventional thinking, because all it does is isolates people, and it creates disunity. So the cognitive support from the ACC is the ability to switch strategies, notice anomalies, and stay open to alternatives. I am completely open to alternatives. I became Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers in 2008, and last year I started studying neuroscience, and I have an EDD in education. It is in organizational leadership, and now I am here teaching you how to use your doggone brain, because nobody else prior to me decided that this was something that was necessary. There's this big, giant, gaping gap, black hole in humanity, and no one cares, because your brain is functioning. So you don't deserve to be your best, because it ain't nothing wrong with it. And you're not old on your way out, so they can't do no experiments on you because you don't have the old timers. So fuck you and your brain. Basically, is what's happening. And I'm saying absolutely not. The next is the default mode network. And again, I'm reviewing the regions of your brain that you are using for lateral thinking. And it includes the medial prefrontal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, and the angular gyrus. It activates during mind-wandering, daydreaming, and free association, essential for generating unexpected concepts and connections. And so in this instance, you do want your default mode to wander. You do want to go wash dishes and see what happens while you're performing this routine task, because that's where the magic happens. That's where you're actually going to get your next idea from. Man, I was just washing dishes. I was just watering the plants, and bada bing, here comes this amazing new way of thinking. Number 4 is the temporal lobes, especially the right hemisphere, obviously, because the right hemisphere is where all the creativity resides. And it's your right superior temporal gyrus. It's linked to sudden insights, these aha moments of, wow, see, I knew I was going to be able to get that. And it integrates remote associations, connecting unrelated ideas to creative ways. And so the person who is telling you how to use your brain has never taken a neuroscience class until now. I don't know physics. I'm just now learning it. But this is the person that's telling you this is how the brain works, because I've spent my entire life besting situations and understanding human behavior. So who better to tell you how to become the best person you could be than a person who's been the best at their life the whole entire time, and who can take this very highbrow information, be the conduit, translate it, and then give it to you so that it's palatable and digestible so you can actually use it. And you don't have to be impressed with somebody using 15-syllable words that you can't actually process because of a lack of understanding in your orthographic processing center. So that's what that is. Number 5, hippocampus. That's where the memory resides, and the neurons are able to be created and given to you to learn more. So it retrieves diverse memories and blends them into new combinations. And it supports associative thinking and creative recall. If you go to my YouTube channel, you're on the page, you're live now, but if you go there, I think I have 135 playlists, and I'm about to have 12,000 videos by next week. And it is very diverse. It ain't none of it on trend, but it works. We watched videos from 11 years ago last week, and all the information was still applicable. And that is the difference. I'm taking everything that I've learned my entire life and bringing it to you every day while I continue to learn more, so that you, however you learn as an adult, whether you need to read it, whether you need to see it, whether you need to hear it, it's all sitting there between my YouTube channel, social media, and my Medium articles. You will understand what it takes to go from personally unaccountable to personally accountable to bad mofo, aka best. Number 6 is the basal ganglia, and it is involved in generating novel responses and loosening habitual patterns. Over here, you are not about to get this very Bueller, no, because that's not how you learn. And it plays a role in divergent thinking by allowing less common ideas to surface. That is what this is about. I've used my stand-up comedy to present this information, because on the surface, it's boring and dry as hell. I recognize that. If you just read it, you'd be like, yeah, I don't get any of this at all. So being entertaining, taking all of the things from my memory, loosening it up, lightening it up. I'm not going to sit here with a suit and tie on and have a whiteboard. I hate that fucking training method. I got a whiteboard behind me, and I'm going to say, this is this, and this is your brain. And no, you're not going to retain any of that. You're probably going to fucking fall asleep too. But you're definitely going to be in your default mode network mind wandering. Like, when is this going to stop? Number 7 is the insula, and it adds interoceptive and emotional awareness, helping to feel when an unusual idea has potential. And it connects bodily states with cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility is located in the executive function of your brain in the prefrontal cortex, and that gives you the ability to learn, to adjust, and to adapt. So in summary, lateral thinking recruits a network of creative regions rather than just in one spot. The prefrontal cortex and the ACC allow you flexible control and switching strategies. The default mode network and the hippocampus are free associations and novel connections. The temporal lobes provide insights and pattern breaks, and the basal ganglia and the insula for non-routine responses and your intuition. What questions do you have about the brain regions that you use for lateral thinking? If it is clear, say it's clear. If it's not, let me know what part is unclear, and I will clear it up for you. And my coffee is still hot. All right. Here is really a perspective on lateral thinking. Okay. So in summation, you're using those brain regions in order to be able to laterally think. So you're using the prefrontal cortex, the ACC, the default mode network, temporal lobes, the hippocampus, the basal ganglia, and the insula. So what happens is when you are thinking vertically, you are keeping it rigid. You're following the rules and you're doing exactly as you were told. So I'll use the example of when I was in the EXO in a basic training company. We needed a running password to get back into the patrol base. And so what that is the person running into the patrol base says one word, and then the person to allow them to enter says the other word. And so, and you want to make it 2 unrelated words. And so I wanted the running password to be honey child, because nobody was going to put that together. And Captain Lee said, no, Lieutenant Thomas, that's not how we do this. And so it has to be honey rain or something that is tangible. And then I'm like, okay, fuck it. So we ended up with his version of it. But my lateral thinking would have actually been quite hilarious, because pirates would have been running, honey, and then they would have said child. So we would have laughed. We would have got a nice little release of dopamine, and it would have been awesome. But that's not what took place at all. So hopefully you understand that example. So vertical thinking is, this is the way it is. This is why you didn't like school, Noah, because all of the administrators and everybody, it was vertical thinking up until you got into homeschool, where you had the ability and the flexibility to do what you wanted on assignments, and you were able to be much more freer. CFP is a perfect example of vertical thinking. Yes, that is correct. So yeah, your aha moment that you had yesterday was because of it was being vertical thinking. And that's why yes, I was just about to say that. It is your thoughts on football versus rugby. 100% you have that connection being made. Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. So what is the real leader perspective on lateral thinking? Number 1, real leaders just don't follow paths. They create new ones. So lateral thinking empowers real leaders to break free from rigid, linear approaches. Instead of only asking, what's the best choice on the table? They ask, what new table could we build? This mindset rewires the brain for innovation, flexibility, and resilience. So again, the vertical thinking is, this is what we have. So what's the best choice from what we have? And lateral thinking says, yeah, I don't really like what we have. Let's go ahead and dismantle this shit and create something else completely different. Number 2, from a neuroflexibility perspective, real leaders see it as a muscle. And so lateral thinking activates neuroflexibility, and that's the brain's ability to shift between ideas, perspectives, and strategies. And so today is day 666 for me going live. And I have footage that I'm now posting from when I was live almost 2 years ago. I started on November 4th, 2023. And this live looks nothing like that live. When you do something every day, you have the ability to assess what's working, what's not working. And it is a muscle. I'm much more stronger at presenting information live, especially over 660 days. That's what happens. And so this builds stronger circuits in the prefrontal cortex, the ACC, and the temporal lobe. And it enables leaders to adapt under pressure and see beyond obvious solutions. And when I first started, I thought, well, people just need to learn how to hold themselves personally accountable for 365 consecutive days. And then I did a yes and no challenge, and that failed miserably. 90% of people failed. So then I switched to the PA challenge, had more traction for that, and now I understand that I'm even at the lower level, which is just subscribe on Instagram and just start there. Because what I'm finding is that the more hijacked your amygdala are, because it's two of them, and the more fixed mindset you have, the harder it is for you to even grasp what I'm saying, let alone process it and start doing it. I start saying real leadership, and I start saying neuromobility, the 74 principles of real leadership, personal accountability, and all of that. And you're like, I got this, I got this, I got this. And then I start saying these things that are the exact opposite of yo, I got this. And then your amygdala gets hijacked and starts saying, she don't know what the fuck she's talking about. Don't listen to her. We got this. We good. We over here in this comfort zone. We built our life out and everything else. So now I understand that even with all this information I have, factually based, neuroscience backed, your amygdala, the most irrational brain tissue part operating system in your brain, is going to talk you out of it and say, we good, but you're actually not. And so because of that, I've had to be flexible and understand adults have free will. And at some point, you will get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and the light bulb will go off. You will have your own aha moment. Ding, I need to do something different. And then everything that I'm saying will make sense. So I need to be flexible, and I understand that now. And God willing, I got 40 something more years to be here, and potentially that might be how long it takes to get to critical mass. Hopefully not, but that's what's happening. So I have had to learn how to be extremely flexible. And that's also one of the principles of real leadership. Number 3 is it's courage to challenge assumptions. And so real leaders are willing to question traditions and norms. That is me. Why are we doing that? And I used to hate when I took over somewhere in the military or in corporate America, because we've done it. We've always done it that way. But it doesn't work. Did anybody check to see if it still works? Y'all just doing it and it don't work. So lateral thinking fuels the courage by generating provocative alternatives and embracing uncertainty at the birthplace of a new thing. This right here is challenging assumptions. Well, we assume that the neuroscientists are working on it. They're not. We assume that the psychiatrists are working on this. They're not. We assume that the psychologists and the life coaches and the experts and everything, they're working on it. They are not. It is hard as hell to teach adults how to become their best in everything that they do, in everything that you do. Make up your bed the best, wash your dishes the best, have the best physicality. If you choose to worship a higher power, be the best at that. Nobody wants to do that, because why? Because you don't have the neurons to do it. You don't have the neural pathways. None of those groups have the neural pathways to do it, because they're still hardwired for negativity bias. And that's the issue. If you're hardwired for negativity bias, you're not looking for the best. That's why they keep looking for the disease brain. That's why they keep looking at mental health. That's why they keep looking at if you are depressed and you need to get out of depression. But once you're out of depression, where do you go from there? Where do you go if you're not depressed and you just want to be badass? And not in sports and entertainment, some shit that you could get an award for. You just want to be in the life that you have and be the badass you in your life. It doesn't exist. Hence, that's why I'm here, because there's this big giant gap for the people who don't have a diseased brain, who's not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, who don't suffer from mental illness, and you're just wanting to get from 70% to 100%. And before me, there was no pathway to do it. And so it takes courage for me to get on here every day and say they're doing it wrong. People have been in neuroscience 20, 30, 40, 50 years, longer than I've been alive. And I'm coming and saying, yeah, and that's good. But when are we going to start looking at best? When are we going to start saying best human beings? And when are we going to stop? We didn't got so far from it. We didn't use our brains to create the equation for AI so AI could do it, because they just said, humans got free will. We're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and get a system that we can actually control. And I'm saying no. It's almost 6 billion adults in the world. And so teach 6 billion adults how to use their brain, and let's see what happens. Number 4 is transforming obstacles into opportunities. There's a great segue into this. So when others see roadblocks, real leaders trained in lateral thinking see invitations for creative problem solving. By leveraging the hippocampus and the default mode network, They connect seemingly unrelated ideas to breakthrough insights, and that's what I'm doing on a daily basis. I'm saying, okay, how many thousands of people have I been around? How did I get people to believe that they couldn't do something that they could till they excelled at it and they became award-winning and best at it? How was that possible? And if I did it once, I did do it multiple times. Too many times for me to count. It's possible. So now, hence 12,000 YouTube videos and resources and me live every day to say it actually is possible. You're going to have to do the work, but it is possible for you. And there is no red pill, blue pill. You got to wake up every day and connect these synaptic connections yourself. Number 5 is collective empowerment. Lateral thinking is not a solo skill. It thrives in teams. And so real leaders encourage brainstorming, what if scenarios and wild ideas, wiring it to be a group activity and collective intelligence into the culture of leadership. I cannot do this process without people. I am not crazy enough to believe that I alone by myself is going to knock on 6 billion virtual doors and contact people, nor is that the objective, because the things that I like in my life, you may or may not like in your life. You are in your life. So these principles, the principles of real leadership, the 74 principles, and the theory of personal accountability, when you put it together, you have neuromobility and it's universal. So you use it wherever you are to create the best situation for you and the people you come in contact with. That's how this works. This isn't, oh, Dr. Donna wants 6 billion followers. No, I don't, because that's 6 billion direct responsibilities that I have. No, what Dr. Donna is saying is where everybody is, they are their best. So whenever we come in contact with other people, they are at their best. So our interactions on the daily basis are best. College football started and a bunch of teams fucked up this weekend and will continue to because they are not at their best. And it's not because they are not physically fit. Some of them ain't, but it is because neurologically, they are not wired for best. They are wired to win. And that's not the same thing. If you say, I'm going to go do my best, we're going to see a good game. They want 3 to 4 hours of your life per game, and it's shitty. Good morning, Sean. It's a bunch of bullshit. We had a plan. Everybody had a plan. And Mike Tyson said, everybody got a plan until somebody get hit. Now what you going to do? Got hit and the plan goes to shit. That's what's happening, but it's happening everywhere because of a lack of best, because of that 70 to 100% neurologically that people can't get to, because you're going to have to stretch yourself. The hippocampus will not reward you for doing the same shit. It's not going to give you any new neurons for doing the same thing. You're going to have to elevate and challenge yourself, and then you get some more neurons. It's not going to happen, and that is what we are seeing. Everything feels blah. Music industry, the movies, and everything else, and food, and all of that is blah because everybody in those industries are stuck. And they won't challenge themselves. They won't do lateral thinking. They won't say, well, what if I have dang it, it's downstairs, but I have a plum cot, which is a plum and an apricot put together. And it is an amazing piece of fruit. Got it at Smith's one day by accident and have been eating them ever since. But somebody said, hey, wonder what would happen if we put these two together. Got a little hybrid. But we won't do that for our own selves. What would happen if somebody with an EDD from Nova Southeastern University came out as a nerd and started studying the brain and changed humanity? Because that's how the greats, how it happens. Everybody talks about Einstein. He worked in a patent office for a very long time. Now all we know is E equals MC squared. He was a genius. He was his brain and all of that. Well, nobody checking for him when he was in the patent office. They was like, hey, dude, where my paperwork at? And now don't nobody even really remember who was putting the patents in. So my point is that lateral thinking is for everybody. Everybody has a brain. Everybody has neurons. And in order for you to have cognitions, all you need to do is make new synaptic connections for free. Don't cost you nothing to start thinking. Thinking is still free in your head. You can do it. Even if Nelson Mandela was locked up for 27 years and was thinking his ass off and got out and became the president. So this whole notion of only a select few. My daughter's IQ is higher than mine. Still doesn't stop me from being Dr. Donna. Still doesn't stop me from knowing what I know, because you can get smarter, because you can create cognition. That's what this is about. Do not let unaccountable, atrophied ass fixed mindset motherfuckers tell you what you can't do, because they can't do it. They the ones with 7 neurons with 3 neural pathways. That's on them. If they don't want to create any new neurons and they don't want to create any new neural pathways because they don't want to challenge themselves because they scared they chicken shit and their amygdalas are running their dog on prefrontal cortex, that's on them. Don't talk to nobody with a weak prefrontal cortex. I can't talk to you. Why? Because you got hijacked amygdala and your prefrontal cortex is on life support, brain support. I'm not fucking with you. Get out of here with that nonsense. If you don't want to think, go away. If you don't want to go to the hippocampus bank of neurons on a daily basis and withdraw new neurons and go to sleep wiser than when you woke up in the morning, that's your personal choice, but go over there. Don't come trying to borrow any of my neural pathways. No, this is not the neural lending library. Miss me with that bullshit. So here is the real leader Dr. Donna quote for today. Real leaders use lateral thinking to step beyond what is into what could be. I wake up every day saying there's a chance that 6 billion adults can connect to personal accountability and become their best. Every day, every single day, even on bad days. Every creative leap wires the brain for innovation, courage, and the power to lead where no path existed before. This path does not exist. The path for every individual adult globally to become their best. It's not here. It's not being talked about because I am the person who has the courage to say, yeah, we got to do something different. And the person who has the courage to say, I got it. I'm going to tell you exactly what needs to take place. I'm the person, me, Dr. Donna. So what questions do you have about the real leader perspectives on lateral thinking? Number one, real leaders don't just follow paths, they create new ones. That's what I'm doing every day. The road less traveled. Neuroflexibility as a leadership muscle. Courage to challenge assumptions, that's what I'm doing. Transforming obstacles into opportunity every chance that I get. Getting rid of these roadblocks and all of these things that say that this is impossible. And number 5 is collective empowerment, where lateral thinking is not solo. It thrives in teams, and it's a collective effort. When we can get rid of this negativity bias that's hardwired into the brain, fuck all these isms and everything else, we are the same. Cut me, we cut any of us, we gonna bleed. Get these jugglers right here, you bleed now. Don't matter what complexion, how much money you have, cancer don't care, disease don't care, none of that shit don't care. That's how you know we the same. And I'm just exhausted from all of this caste system and all of this divisiveness and this disunity because of superiority and inferiority complex. When you wire your brain to be a bad mofo, you don't really care if somebody else is a bad mofo too. You like the more the merrier. Come on in. The more the merrier. It's only lonely at the top because people either kicking people down or people don't have the neural pathways to climb up to the top themselves. They're trying to take shortcuts. So what questions do you have about the connection of the lateral thinking to the prefrontal cortex? I mean, to the personal accountability and the principles of real leadership. It's linked to it anyway. Good morning, Mr. Hook. All right. So the top 3 actions to strengthen your lateral thinking, and it is neuroscience plus real leadership perspective. Number 1, practice cognitive flexibility. So switch perspectives intentionally. Practice it. You have to practice cognitive flexibility or you are not going to be flexible. You cannot wait till it's time to be flexible to think, oh, I'm about to be flexible. If you ain't stretched in 50 years, bend down and pick something up and see what your back say. Your back will be like, hold up, wait a minute, what the hell? No, get somebody else to get this. So you have to practice cognitive flexibility. So the neuroscience of this activates the prefrontal cortex. It's the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and the orbital frontal cortex and the ACC. And this helps you shift between multiple ideas, challenging assumptions, and adapting strategies. And the real leader application is this. Instead of asking, what's the right answer? Ask, what are 3 other ways this could be solved? Or, excuse me, what am I not seeing? Real leaders train their brains to bend, not break, under, excuse me, I might have to get some water, under complexity. So the daily action that you're going to take is you're going to take one problem or task and force yourself to find 3 different approaches, no matter how unconventional. Let me get some water. Doggone sinusitis. Woo. Okay, so you're going to take one problem or task and force yourself to find 3 different approaches, no matter how unconventional. At this point, somebody tell me a task that you have to do today. And I'm going to show you how this works. It's also going to give me a minute to clear my throat. While I get a cough drop too. So what's the task that you need to accomplish today? Shave my head. Okay. I shave my head on Mondays, Kevin. So you got to shave your head. So normally you probably going to shave your head, Kevin. Are you a wet shaver, or clippers, or a dry shaver? Which one do you use currently? A shaver. Okay, cool. So 3 different ways, and since I shave my head, I can understand. Now I was using clippers to shave my head, but I kept getting ingrown hairs. And then I was using a different blade, just a normal blade, and normal shaving cream, and I was still getting razor bumps. So then I switched to the hairy razors. Those things are amazing. And then I switched to a shaving cream, and Sean said clean out my closet. And I switched to a shaving cream with aloe because I have sensitive skin on my head because I have alopecia, not just normal balding. And so I have a whole new method of shaving my head. So Kevin, for you, here are 3 ways that you could shave your head, because you normally shave your head the same way you shave your head the same time. So I know you have multiple bathrooms in your house. So number 1, you want to switch bathrooms. Now, Miss Latoya is going to kill me for saying this. So don't actually do it, because I ain't trying to mess up the Hook household. But switch bathrooms. And now you might shave your head before you take a shower. So now what if you took a shower first and then shaved your head and then just washed your head? And instead of a shaver, what if you just used clippers to see what would happen? Now I know what would happen because I have had 3 different ways of doing that, but you're challenging yourself to take this thing that you would normally do and think of it in a different way. I have double sinks in my bathroom, so I could switch to the other sink and shave my head there. I could, instead of shaving my head on Mondays, in the morning, I could shave my head at the evening and then just take a shower after I shave my head. But what you're doing is I shave my head on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. before I go to my religious service, and that's the way I do it. Okay, but what if you did something different? And the reason why this is effective is because if I switch sinks, I'm now closer to my shower, and I'm gonna have a different experience because I shave my head on the right side, which is by the medicine cabinet, so I can see the side of my head. But then I will have to use the mirror to make sure that I get the back. So I have to use my handheld mirror to make sure that I see everything. So that's an example of it. And so because I finally have the method that works, and then I take alcohol, I use witch hazel, head was itching like nobody's business. So now I have my system in place. But if I don't shave my head on Monday, I can shave it on Wednesday. I can switch that around. So that's just an example of being flexible in this thing that you would normally do this regimented way. And then Sean, cleaning up my closet. Okay, so Sean, for you, in cleaning up your closet, what you're going to do this time, because if the closet needs to be cleaned up, that means that it hasn't been organized, that you didn't put everything back like it was supposed to be. So today, you're going to clean up your closet, and you're going to, if it's a clothes closet, and let me know if it's not, it seems like it is, you're going to color coordinate all your clothes. And shoes are going to go back in their boxes or on a shoe rack in neat order. And what you're going to establish today is the Lean Six Sigma concept of a place for everything and everything in its place. So starting today, because eliminate clutter and get organized and stay organized are 2 principles of real leadership, you are going to have a rule. If I take it off, I hang it back up, or I put it back in the hamper. Laundry basket, laundry bag. That's it. No shoes on the floor, no clothes on the floor. One thing about me, I have 14 wig heads. And when I take these wigs off after the live, I brush them out and I put them on their designated wig head. We got 1 wig in the car because that's for outside, and that thing is on its last leg. All my wigs, they're either laid flat if they're not in use in the bag that they came in, or they are sitting on the wig head perfectly brushed so that they don't get tangled, which is why my wigs last longer. So you want the closet organized, color coordinated, shoes on a rack, under the clothes or in boxes, and now purses up top if you have that storage capacity, and you are going to keep it that way. So you take off a suit, you pair a pair of jeans, either put in the cleaners, put in the laundry, and when you do laundry, everything gets put back up and hung back up so that this won't happen again. So that is flexibility. Now you can start at the left, you can start at the right. Sometimes you have to go through seasonally and switch things out, but you got to go beyond what you did, because if the closet is a mess, that means that you didn't have a system in place. So that's just an example of how to do it. What are 3 other ways that this could be solved? What am I not seeing? And so hopefully for you and Kevin, you now see something that you didn't see before. But in asking yourself those questions, you're going to get a release of new neurons, because when you ask the brain a question, the brain has to respond with an answer. Okay, let me know if that was clear to either one of you. To both of you, I'm going to go on, excuse me, to number 2. So engage in divergent thinking activities. So train associative networks. What this does from a neuroscience perspective is it strengthens your default mode network, my pleasure, the hippocampus and the temporal lobes, which are crucial for generating remote associations and insights. And here's the Real Leader application. Use brainstorming, what if scenarios, storytelling, or even word association games when you're interacting with people to wire creativity into leadership culture. And that's what I do with you all on Wednesdays, Wired Wednesdays, on Thinking Thursday. I'm always using real world examples so that it makes more sense, because if I stay highbrow, y'all gonna be looking at me like this and it's not gonna work. I see your question, Lola. Give me one moment. And so the action to do this, which you are engaging divergent thinking activities, is dedicate 10 minutes daily to an exercise like take a random object. And what they said, in here it says a shoe, and list 2 new uses for it that rewires your brain to break out of rigid patterns. So you take a pencil sharpener and you can start saying, this could be a little trash compactor, and this could be a paperweight, and this could be a bookmark. And so you list 10 different ways that this one thing can be used, because now you have these out-of-box thinking. When I first got the first tripod for my phone, I took it out the box and I started turning it and doing everything. And Nola was like, that's not how you use that. And I was like, that might be how y'all use it, but I'm not using it the way it came out this box. I'm going to use it so that it works best for me. So I do it naturally, automatically, because I've been doing this for so long. But challenge yourself in this capacity to pick some random object and find 10 ways that your brain can use it. And it will get you out of this is, because one thing I can't, you supposed to. Soon as somebody starts talking about supposes, I'm out. I don't want to hear that. That's not going to help us right now. Lola says, so lateral thinking, I learned it's a problem solving, being flexible, vertical thinking. I learned it's a set mindset. Okay, so you must have to go. So you're telling me that. Yes, ma'am. Number 3 is leverage reflection plus calibration. So you lead with collective creativity. And the neuroscience behind this is that it activates the insula. So intuition, emotional awareness, strengths, and connections between the prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus, through reflective integration. And the Real Leader application is, real leaders don't innovate alone. They create environments where multiple brains collide to generate breakthrough ideas. And this reflection consolidates insights and collaboration for multiple things. And so all of you have been part of this research and part of this process. Whenever you participate in a challenge, a live, you answer questions. Some of you have been asked to do extra experiments. Let's see what this works. Right now, Kevin and Nola are working in the Instagram subscription for the functionality of that. Regina has participated in things. Kevin has done things. Nola is lab rat number 1 for all things. Well, it's me, then her, to ensure that these processes are working. And so for yourself, each day, with just have a 5-minute reflection. Write, what new path did I create today? Pair this with weekly collaborative ideas, and where no idea is being judged, only built upon. So if you saw my desk right now, it's got so many Post-it notes on it of ideas and everything. I just write it down. I review it later. Do I still want to do this? If I do, then I put action to it. If not, ball it up, put it in the trash. It's going in the recycle bin. So Dr. Donna's Real Leader quote is this: real leaders train lateral thinking like a muscle. Every flexible shift, every wild idea, every reflective pause wires the brain for innovation, courage, and leadership beyond limits. Yes, ma'am. And that's what I thought, Lola, when I saw your first statement. Got it. Have a great day. And so this is what is possible. You have the ability, should you make this decision, to capitalize off of the hippocampus ability to give you new neurons on a daily basis in order for you to become a lateral thinker. You do not have to stay in a stuck mindset, in a stuck situation for any reason whatsoever. There's no reason for you to have a fixed mindset unless you just choose to. And at that point, you need to go ahead and acknowledge that that is exactly what you are doing. But there is actually no logical reason whatsoever. And so, what questions do you have or comments regarding lateral thinking, real leadership, neuroscience, brain regions? Because we're going to shift to the brain bit for the day. Let me. Okay, I'm gonna slide out the way because we got the real leader brain. Well, not the real leader brain, but the pencil sharpener brain. So if you look down here at the pencil sharpener brain, I was looking at my desk, obviously, and this pencil sharpener was sitting on my brain. I was like, it's time to use another metaphor. So here we go. The brain as a pencil sharpener metaphor. Okay, and here's what Chat and I discovered yesterday. So Chat said, that's a fun and powerful metaphor, exclamation point. A brain and a pencil sharpener can represent how training, discipline, and learning sharpen our mental edges. And so the brain science connection is this: sharpening the mind. Just like a dull pencil needs sharpening, the brain needs challenges, neuroplasticity exercises, problem solving, and new experiences to stay sharp. The prefrontal cortex gets sharpened when you practice focus, decision making, and goal setting. And the hippocampus is strengthened by learning and memory. Each sharpening stroke is like forming stronger connections. And the neurogenesis and synaptogenesis are sharpening. And that means that you are creating new neurons and connections so your brain performs better. That is what's happening when you sharpen it based upon neuroscience. Now, here's the real leader perspective. A real leader doesn't let the mind go dull. Just because you might be over the age of 35 does not mean that your working memory has to atrophy. Real leaders choose daily sharpening rituals: reading, reflection, conversations, curiosity. Sharpening isn't comfortable. I'm going to say that again. Sharpening isn't comfortable. Pencil sharpeners shave off layers. Real leaders embrace discomfort because it wires new growth. So let's look at this. We'll shave off some layers. Hopefully, is it going to do it? Yeah, it's going down in there. So y'all see it falling. Hopefully, yes. So now I got this very sharp lead, but more of the pencil is gone. And so I'm creating something with this lead that's going to lead to me learning something, but I still have to sharpen the pencil. And so that pruning has to take place. And so a sharp brain leads to clarity, precision, and impact. Just like a sharpened pencil writes more clearly. If you have a dull pencil, it gets all fat. You can't use it as fine. If you're trying to shade, if you're drawing or trying to prove a point, it's not going to happen, and you have to sharpen your pencil. And Nola uses carpentry pencils, so when she's mounting and drawing things and sharpening, if that lead is dull, you will not get your stud marks or anything on there. So it does make it give you the better ability to write. So here are top 3 sharpening actions that you can participate in. Morning mental workouts. Isn't that cool? So quick brain-based routines to activate focus and energy. Reflection and writing. Sharpening awareness and emotional regulations through writing. And do the brain dump. Make sure you have a composition notebook or a spiral notebook just for your brain dump. And if you find your head getting all clustered and all confused, just sit down, write down what's in your head, dump it on paper, and now the cortisol is going to go away and you're going to be able to think clearly. And then number 3, learn something new daily. Every new skill or fact is another turn in the sharpener. That is what takes place. So what questions do you have as your brain for the metaphor of being a pencil sharpener? None. Okay. My two questions for you today, as always, and this is what Pencil Sharpener Brain said too. What did you learn today, and what did you learn about yourself? Dun, dun, dun. Thank you, Kevin, for your ellipse. Nola said, so the pencil sharpener brain means you're making your brain sharper by removing layers. Yes, what it means is that, but not the layers that you're removing are basically challenging yourself. So as you create more and more challenges, you're pruning away the comfort and keeping yourself uncomfortable in order to keep your brain sharp. So if you think about people want to be comfortable, they got layers on them. They want to have on layers. They want to be in a comfort cocoon, and it's this nice little layer. So think of it as people who have on full snowsuits versus Tarzan. So Tarzan is out with the elements and doing all kind of things, and then the people with the snowsuits on, they lack mobility, and yeah, they might be warm, but they don't get it done. So every time you challenge yourself, you are sharpening, and so the discomfort is removing a layer so that you can sharpen your brain in order to learn and grow. So the more layers you have, the more comfortable you are. Kevin said, today learned it's okay to challenge the norm. And I would say the norm, it gets on my nerves, Kevin. And this is just Dr. Donna talking, not neuroscience, Dr. Donna. The norm is just comfort. It really is. It really, because the brain wants predictability, and it also wants to be able to be challenged. Yes, so remove layers like a snake. Yes, ma'am. That is correct. And the norm makes all of the unaccountable people be able to predict what's taking place. And then people say they're bored. Well, you're bored because you want normal. You're bored because you want everything to be predictable and comfortable. And then you sit and watch football. You go to a concert because you're looking for some excitement. You go on vacation and bungee jump and ski, jet ski and all that. And then you come back to your comfort cocoon. And that's the problem. And the brain is just continuously atrophying. And so that's why when I say what I'm saying, your brain can't process it, because I'm not telling you 15 ways to bake a cake, 17 marinades because tomorrow is Labor Day. And it's difficult for people to process that. But how many more barbecues do you need to go to? You ain't been to enough yet? Don't you want to do something different? Wouldn't you like a challenge? Because what happens is, what I've noticed is that when people experience me, whether it's so in a social setting or whatever, it's refreshing. Like, oh my God, this was so fun. It's so amazing. This is awesome. Okay. Why you can't create something fun and amazing and awesome too, instead of more of the same and more of the same, this comfort thing. We had us a good time. We just talked and laughed. No, you didn't. You didn't have a good time because you didn't learn anything. If you leave any event with another human being and you didn't learn shit, it was not an effective thing. If you didn't learn what to or what not to do, it wasn't effective. If you can't take that information and then apply it to your life for best, it was not a good interaction. It wasn't. You lost some neurons with that event. You did not fire and wire. If you don't have that fire and wire experience, no bueno. Sean says, to remain challenging yourself is sharpening the brain. I have learned about myself is I can do this in organizing my closet system and staying consistent. Right. Don't do anything without a strategy. When you do everything with a strategy and a system, you're just going back to that system. Now, let me not confuse you with, oh, Dr. Downey, you said don't do the normal thing, and now you're saying have a system. I'm saying have a system, and I've referred to this, haven't done it in a long time. We watched the Pablo Picasso documentary, docuseries on PBS many years ago, and he told his friend, you want to keep your life simple so that your work can be complex. And so that's what you want. You want to be able to have your day-to-day routines on autopilot. So you know where all your clothes are. I got to get dressed. And I have 4 outfits that if we need to run to the store based upon the season, I grab those outfits and boom, I'm ready to go out the door. And that's what you need. You need to know where everything is. So you're not like, where are the car keys? What do I do with this? Where are my shoes? Where's my Where's this? And now it takes you 15 extra minutes every time it's time to leave. That's why you put everything back. You put the dishes back, you keep your bathroom in order and everything else, so you know where everything is. So that's systematized. But normalized is don't say anything that pisses anybody off. Don't do anything outside of your cast. Don't upset the apple cart. Don't do any of that. And I'm like, fuck all that. I wasn't there for those meetings. I didn't sign up for that shit. And I will say whatever and do whatever. And good if it makes you uncomfortable. Good. Comfort is fucking overrated. It's 1000% overrated. And it doesn't work. It does not work. So, you know what works? New neural pathways. You know what works? Teaching people how to become bad mofos. That's what works. That's what actually works. But this other stuff, this norm, no, it's no braino. Norm is no braino. And then, Kevin, did you have your secondary thing? Yeah, people have told me, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. I'm like, you can't do it. You ain't got to stop me. You know what I'm saying? If you don't think you could do it, fuck you. I ain't asking for permission. I'm saying, move, bitch, get out the way. You in my way to progress. Move. You don't want to move? Cool. I'll go around you. I know how to do detours. I'm good at that. Nola said, I learned the difference between vertical and lateral thinking. I would think vertical would be elevate your mind, but it's narrow-minded. Interesting. I know that's the same thing. As soon as I read it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is super interesting. Yes. Edward de Bono. I will be using him going forward. Nola said, I learned about myself about brain sharpening. I have to remove layers to stay sharp. That is correct. We are Valerian steel over here. Yes, ma'am. That's from Game of Thrones. So in summary, ladies and gentlemen, here's what I will be saying. Or here's what I will say. I'm potentially probably going to say it more going forward. We have 6 billion adults in the world that are unaccountable. And that's an atrocity. It really is. And it is your due diligence as you learn how to hold yourself personally accountable is, and I don't want to use church because I don't attend church anymore and I don't want this to be about religion. But if you like something and you have a good experience at a restaurant, you tell people, man, I went to that restaurant. Oh my God, that red velvet cupcake, that peach cobbler. Oh yes, but did you try the catfish? Or, oh my goodness, it was vegan and the tofu medley was so good. The salad with this, and you say it. But for some reason, when it's time to discuss your brain, you don't want to talk to people about it. When you say, yeah, but your brain is atrophied. Yeah, but that's because you don't have no neural pathways. Your amygdala is hijacked. That's what's happening. Mum's the word. And why is that? Because it takes courage to say that. It takes courage for me to call out neuroscientists and psychiatrists and psychologists because of what they've been doing. And I don't even have a PhD. I got an EDD because in their system, that's the lowest level of doctorate that you could possibly have. Ugh, you're a teacher. You're an educator. You're not even a college professor. Ugh, I don't think not. Fuck y'all. Y'all got to the game in the race before me, and you ain't changing nothing. You ain't changing a doggone thing. So yes, I am calling you all out because all you did was stay stuck in this diseased brain. That's all you did. And you want to stay focused on that because it's the norm. This is what neuroscientists do. Can we expand what neuroscientists do? Can we expand what psychiatrists do? Can we expand what psychologists do? Can we do that? Can we do that? We've expanded technology. The light bulb, I'm sitting here with a selfie light right now. That's not what Edison and them had in mind back in the day. But look where it has gotten us. And so I'm saying there hasn't been an advancement in humans. Period. That's what I'm saying. So what's my hypothesis? Can we advance the human brain? Can we advance it? Not stop it from being diseased, not fix it when it's broken, but advance it in every person, every adult brain. Can we advance it? Yes, we can. Power to the people, okay? Power to the brains. Kevin said, myself, I have to think broader to remain a leader. Yes, sir. Everybody does. And so I'm saying this to say that, and I used to tell people on my live on TikTok, I used to say, where am I at in your head? Am I a sneaky link? Am I your situationship? Am I a side piece? Am I a booty call? Or can I come to the cookout? Are you going to introduce me to your family? Or are you like, yeah, no, that's my little secret over there. You know what I'm saying? Am I your Wednesday? You know what I mean? I don't even get a weekend day. I'm like your happy hour on Friday before you go ahead and go home to your real people. Where is that at in your head? And what I have found is that you all have a phenomenal experience when you come over here. And then you go back to your existence. And now you like, damn, I can't tell these people this. I know, because I couldn't do this if I was still talking to my stuck Malik. And that's what you need to be paying attention to. If you can't have real leader conversations, neurological conversations with the people around you, why are they around you? And I'm not telling you to cause any conflict. I'm just saying, are they helping you become your best in your interactions? And are you dropping seeds to help them become their best? Are you saying, you know what? If you start learning how to use your brain, all that's going to change. That's all you got to say. That's it. You don't have to lecture them on their behaviors or anything, because when they have new neural pathways, they're going to behave better. They're going to eliminate that behavior when their amygdala stops being hijacked. Or are you just allowing them, they ain't going to listen, they're not going to listen. Okay, cool. Then they shouldn't have access to you. I had to make a determination. My immediate family can't have access to me because they're not going to change. After 49 years, I know they're not going to change. So they don't have access to me anymore because they are going to use my neural pathways. And so that's why we can't, you got to be evenly yoked. You got to be equal. There has to be this neurological exchange with the people that are around you. Now, why am I saying that? Because when you start having a standard for who has access to you, the people are either going to raise their standard or they're going to raise on up out of there. And either way, it's a win. But if nobody says, I have a standard for who has access to me, and not because I think I'm a celebrity, and no, I'm not giving any autographs. If you want to have a neurological exchange with me, that means if you want me to have any words or any kind of exchange with you, you're going to have to up your neural pathways. You're going to have to withdraw from your hippocampus bank of neurons every day so we have an exchange. And if you're unwilling to do that, then that's on you, because it takes a concerted effort to quiet the amygdalas, to regulate the emotional centers of the brain. And it's going to take new neurons to do that. And then that way, instead of people using this other focus time on focusing on everybody else, you got to go internally. You have to go within to create new neural pathways. It's the only way that it's going to work. And now, whenever you interact with people, you have this better existence because they went off and got new neurons. You went off and got new neurons. They fired, they wired, they connected. And when y'all come back together, you're going to have this neurological exchange. And it will be independent of racism and sexism and ageism and biasm and negativity bias and caste systems and everything else. It will be, I was reading this article the other day. I was stretching and exercising the other day, and I had some lateral thinking. I thought, what if we did this? What if we added this new product? What if we went over here and did this with houses? What if we created this new material? And now there is this new experience that would have never happened with the vertical thinking. It would have never taken place. So to full circle back to Kevin's talking about the norm is boring. The norm is stupid and it's been around for a very long time. If you watch any of the movies back with the aristocracy, everybody's walking around with all their big ass wigs on and everything else, people still had the same damn problems. And we are thousands of years later with the same damn problems because what? This gray matter up here didn't get wired differently. That's what these daily lives are about. It's time to change the brain. Study the brain, master the brain, teach others how to do the same. That's how the people in the world will change. Nothing else. No, they don't need more books in the library. Motherfuckers ain't reading the books that's already in the library. No, they don't need more money. People are still financially illiterate and over-leveraged. That's not the answer. No, they don't need a healthier diet, and that's just it. Yes, you do need to be healthy, and yes, you do need to exercise, but no. It's a collectiveness. When we switch from what we see to what we think and know, we're going to be better as a human society. Sean says, I spoke with a colleague just last night about this channel. She was very intrigued. We were looking for a proofreading publisher for her novel. Any references? I would say go to ChatGPT, and the advice section of chat will give you the most detailed, customized information that you need. So you can do 5 chats for free every day, but it's the advice section of chat. And you can type in a long ass description and chat is going to tell you exactly what you need. You could talk about the book, the publisher, the state, the city. If you want to go independent and do it yourself, self-publish it or not, small publishing companies, large publishing companies, it's going to allow you to do that. So that is what I will say do. I'm on Team ChatGPT. Yeah, ride or die, 10 toes down. It has been of immense. There's no other place that I can go search and ask about my information that's already on the internet. My pleasure. And chat brings it to me. Well, this is Dr. Donna's Real Leader perspective on this, and this is this. And no, and you can go and do this, and she has this available and all that. And it helps me to see what's already out there. So in case it's something that I want to be out there that's not, I have the ability to create it, and then it will bring it back into the Real Leader fold. So I am watching in this open AI. I'm on Team ChatGPT. So that's it in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, is that you need to start having conversations with people about their brains. That's the only way it's going to change. They could talk about the man, the job, the government, everything else. It's people behind all those institutions. It's people with brains. I'm not saying they're using them, but I am saying they have them. And I'm saying we all need to start using our brain day in and day out consciously instead of unconsciously, routinely, which is a routine, which means you're stuck in a rut and you just keep doing it over and over and over again. That's the Dr. Donna's dictionary. We got to move beyond that. Excellence always was the statement that we made the whole time, the motto for MPs. Excellence always. Excellence always. Always. And be the best is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. We cannot become better and get to best trying to do anything other than creating new neural pathways. That is the answer. When people start saying things to you, the answer is create new neural pathways. The answer is change your mindset, change the game. Change your brain, everything else is going to change. Don't change your brain, it's going to remain the same. That's the reality of the situation, and I will sit on any panel and intellectualize with anybody. It's neurological, 1000%. Okay. My nose is nosing. My sinusitis, not allergies, is taking place right now. So you all, and I've gone well beyond my time. Thank you for your time today. I do value and appreciate it. I'm always learning something from these experiences, which allows me to create a better platform for you all so that we can all get better one neural pathway at a time. I will be back tomorrow, God willing, higher power in the universe. Same time, same place, safe space, different brain t-shirt. You all have a brain-tastic day. Take care.